I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
Welcome to the Q&A, everyone. Mike Casey and TW are with us today. Milo's going to ask the questions today because Tom is out. He's not feeling well after his chemo session, so we're not going to have Tom on until next week. Milo, what do you got for us?
Well, first of all, most of my questions I got was I was just following all the previous episodes of Creek Devil, and I've been just picking through some. So I'll start with the first one I got is from Creek Devil episode 165, Mike from Maine. He said that when he heard the noises, the first encounter was, it sounded like gunshots. What does that mean, gunshots?
Well, Milo, you should know this one. Remember the gal that you knew, this has been a few years ago, out by Fort Lewis, and she had some stuff going on, and she actually...
Tracy or something like
she recorded, and this is what, and I've heard other recordings of this too. In fact, I think I have another one that someone sent me, and it was, what people were calling tree knocks, and it sounds like a gunshot. It's that noisy. What do you guys think?
Could it be, because I remember actually reading in your book just the Bigfoot survival guide, the tongue popping?
Yes.
Because everybody tongue pops differently, so maybe it could have been just a lower tone of that.
Well, it's really loud.
Especially with it echoing, I don't know, the terrain of where the encounter took place, but if it was like in gullies, in a ravine, mountains on side, if it was rocky, could echo even louder.
Forrest, what do you make of that?
That's what comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the tongue pops. I know, Will, you said that's what it is. I've never heard that. But have you ever heard a gorilla beating his chest? The way they cup their hands and beat on their chest, that's what it sounds like.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
TW, what do you think?
I have to agree with Mike. I said, that's one of the things that I've always kind of wondered about. But, the terrain has a lot to do with it. If they're in a rocky mountainous area, they wouldn't have a tree to knock. So, are they picking up rocks and beating them against boulders? Because I had a rock come through my back glass on my old Suburban, and I'm on after it happened, it sounded like a rifle shot, and I'm on the phone with New Mexico DPS dispatch. Hey, I need a unit out here. Somebody just shot at my truck. It's Christmas Day, and then of course my daughter picks up this big rock that fell off the side of the mountain, went right through the back glass, and Dad, I don't think it was a rifle shot. Look. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. Forget what I said.
Well, where Mike was from, or where he lived, is from Maine, and he lived up on in the harbor by the tidal flats. So, hey, that's what I got.
Could very well be rocks.
Yeah, it could be, certainly.
Okay. Let me see, where else? Okay. The next one I got is from episode 159, and I love this one. It's Kathy from California. She's a historian for the Newok, and she does a lot of stuff with the history of the national forest. So if the national forest has a project, she'll go out and make sure nothing with the Native Americans will get disturbed or, violated and that kind of stuff. And then she's the only other person that came up with notifying and identifying the buttocks and baby champies there for us.
she noticed that
Yeah, she
chimpanzees
noticed the
had butts.
buttocks. Yeah, and I love that.
Chimpanzees don't have a butt; they're flat.
No, but she identified a baby chimpanzee up in the trees up in Northern California.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, when she was looking at like Patty and stuff, she noticed the buttocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
So and then I just ordered her book too. So
what was the question there?
yeah. Give me a break here. It's my first time. Well, they said, she said that they found a cave with a lot of skeletal remains in it. And I could not find any more on that because it was just really hard to follow some of it. So I was just writing what I could down. Did you hear anything else about that, Will?
I haven't, no. I'll have to look into that. You know, we get bombarded with so much stuff.
They found a lot of skeleton remains, and they said it wasn't by any, normal animal.
Was it? It was animal remains?
No, human.
I hadn't heard of that.
But it was episode 159 from 2013.
and this was where, in Northern California?
Yes.
And there was supposed to be human remains in a cave?
Yep.
I'd have to go back and listen to that episode. That's been a while ago, so I barely remember last week's.
Yeah.
Well, I understand.
There was.
I've slept since then.
But it said
several years.
Go ahead, TW.
Go ahead. Several years ago, the Rangers had to do an investigation at the King Ranch because one of the foremen was killing illegal aliens that were coming in and throwing it into a cave. Well, the cave became habituated by two mountain lions, and they were feeding off those carcasses, and they figured there was like 20 or 30 different sets of remains in that cave, and they had to destroy they killed the mountain lions, and then they destroyed the cave.
Good Lord.
And then through the attrition of time, that's when they made the arrest. But God, that was back in the 70s.
Chuck, have you ever heard of anything like that?
I have not. But that might solve Forrest's problem that she's having. I shouldn't have said that. That was ugly.
I don't have any bodies in a cave around here, guys.
Sure.
I had to think about that a minute. Now,
I'm
what's
still
going on
pondering
there?
about the one on the King Ranch, trying to figure out why they killed the mountain lions. I mean, a lot of mountain lions were just like free food.
That's the thing is that back then the mentality was once they taste, human flesh, they're going to go after humans.
That's what I was just thinking too.
That's total BS. So it's just easy food.
Okay. Well, she said that mostly the elders of the Newak tribe and stuff, they said there's usually two good and one bad. The two good are the spirits of the forest, and the bad guy, well, he does the skeleton cave stuff. So that was just interesting. If anybody else ever heard anything where a good one watches and herds you out in case of danger, I don't know. I mean, it's just
here's what I was told. Like I said, I've got a number of comments that are communications with people who we call Mr. Blacks. There are a number of them. One of the guys told me not long ago, in fact, that not all of them do bad things, but the ones who don't, they will go far away. They're nowhere near where humans are. Unfortunately, the nastier ones are the ones that are closer to humans, for nefarious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Easy prey,
exactly. And not just that, but, all the things that we have around us. We're an easy food source, whether it's livestock or, pets or pet food, livestock food, what have you. I mean, we're actually kind of lackadaisical about a lot of those things that we don't
We're
consider.
At convenience.
Yeah, we're convenience. Absolutely.
Wow, I said a big word.
You did. I'm proud of you, Milo.
Damn, all that ranger training go down the toilet.
Hey. Yeah. Okay. But no, I was just, I think what I got to do is just, learn how to write down all these things. But I was listening to a couple other stories that I'll get into really quick. But the Doug Hilchek Monster Quest one, that was kind of weird. They were up at Sullen Lake and they found some tracks that went for like miles. But when you were talking to him, Will, did he even say anything about like taking pictures of how deep these were, which way they traveled, or anything?
Unfortunately, a lot of people really don't know what to do when they find prints. It's part of the reason that I wrote Bigfoot Fieldwork 101. That's for if somebody's interested, or same with the field guide, my Bigfoot survival guide. If you're out there, you have a copy of this, and you want to know what to do, well, take a copy of one of these books, and it'll tell you what to do. And I'll give you an example. We were going to have Alan on. Alan's a retired colonel from the Army, and he's a historian, really sharp guy. He was unable to be on today, but we'll have him on in the future. But if you all remember Annabeth, who had all those footprints on Christmas Day, this past Christmas. And it's always good. You got to have somebody on the ground if you can, because we looked at the pictures, and by the pictures, looking at her boot next to the footprints, it was easy to assume that they were juvenile tracks. And in fact, they were not. Alan measured them. They were actually 14-inch tracks, by 8 inches wide. These were definitely adults. The same size track as the creature in the Patterson film made. So, and there were smaller tracks there, about half or less that size, that are visible in the pictures. And we got an accurate, because I told him, use the book. He used my Bigfoot Fieldwork 101 book, and he accurately measured not just the size, the overall length of the tracks, the width, the depths of the prints, but also step and stride, and did a really great job. And he counted the prints, and there were 200 that he was able to count. And I think where the tracks went, they didn't really leave much visual marking. But and another interesting part of that, as kind of a side note, even Annabeth thought that the prints at one point, because she was walking along videoing the tracks, thought that they disappeared. Well, they didn't. They made a bizarre left turn that was a more than a 90-degree turn to the left. And if you were walking along tracks and didn't know anything about them, you would think they just stopped. Well, they didn't. They made this sharp turn without missing a step. So that's a lot of time what's going on. And we've had people on who've talked about, who are trackers and talk about being able to get down on the ground and looking at the tracks.
Where was this at? Where does Annabeth live?
It's in central Texas. Actually, TW and I talked about it. It's not far from you.
It's south of where TW lives.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's not very far from where I live right now.
Dang, you guys are going crazy down there.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Texas right now.
Well, my first experience was not far from where I'm at right now.
Oh, no, that's
and that was when I was. So, there's a lot of water sources in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so that's the
in Burnett, TW.
Well, she said, and she had pictures where it's right next to a lake, and I'll send you, TW, the overhead that she sent, the Google Earth image, and it shows where things happened. But there were apparently some kind of shellfish in the water there, and there were these shells where something had eaten them, taken a bunch of these out of the water away from there, and eaten these things.
They were freshwater monks.
Right.
Yeah, we have them around here too.
Okay. So the next one I got is from episode 70. Is Nate from Spokane. They went up. They found a structure. Now, when I hear structure, I just curious. Are they talking someplace for them to sleep? What? I don't know. But they said it was woven construction. Anything on that, Will?
Well, Chuck or TW would probably be able to answer that.
It really sounds like a nesting area. If it's woven, they tend to. Now sometimes they'll make a blind. I've seen that.
Okay.
And you're like, what are they doing right there? And it's just like a semi-permeable wall that they can see through. But if you're not really looking, you wouldn't be able to discern anything in that area. And they'll take living trees and they'll kind of weave them in and out of each other, almost make like a blind. And I'm taking it as an ambush area. And it's usually next to the game trail.
Yeah, I wrote down blind right here because I think that's what one of those little subliminal things that I just put down there. So, wow.
Chuck, what do you think?
I got that one like, cool.
Chuck's
Now, I
seen
got a
plenty of
little
these.
bit different. I've got a little bit different view of some of this stuff. I mean, places that we've been into, we've seen where they'll take the sticks and break the sticks off, and they'll interweave at different angles these sticks to make big structures. And I've saw some pretty interesting structures on the Red River in a place called Brown Springs, and those were a little bit different than the big one that we had found. They had woven this stuff all together, and it actually looked like a big igloo. And they actually put. Go ahead. What was you asking?
Like a longhouse or like a living
yes
wampum or whatever you want to call it. Wigwam.
We kind of think that it was for the juvies, is what we assumed.
Probably. Like a nursery area.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's a cool. Yeah, I like that.
I took one photo one time when I was up in the Bluff Creek area. There was I call it a structure, but it's no sort of blind or anything, but there was no root system at the base, and it was a 30, 40, maybe 50-foot tree, and the last 10 to 15 feet of it was woven through, I want to say 4 trees. Will, I sent you the pictures of those, but no way that tree could have, fallen over, gone over a different direction, and then continued to grow through and around. I mean, it threaded it like a needle almost.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sent Will pictures of that?
Yeah, Will has photos of that.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Well, the next thing they were saying when they were describing it was they heard what they thought was women talking back at their camp. Now, does that sound like something anybody else has heard where it sounded like women talking? I don't know. I hear forests and I don't hear anything.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
I would be sleeping with one eye open, Milo.
I'm far away.
I don't even know where he lives.
Forrest has a long reach.
You don't know who I know, Milo. Anyway,
Forrest, you know I love you.
I run pretty damn.
There's 3 forms
I
of
run
communication.
fast when I'm scared.
There's 3 forms of
Oh, gosh,
communication
the
in
abuse I
telephone,
take.
telegraph, and tell a woman.
Oh.
Ouch. I didn't say
Oh,
that,
Kevin.
though. I didn't say that. I just said
No.
women talking. That's how they described it.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think I told you guys, I know, Will, I told you about this, and I know Chuck's heard this story too, about one time when, this was before I moved my bed away from the window, that I got woke up and I was like, I thought I heard somebody talking. Well, I did hear something talking, but it wasn't somebody, it was something, I think. And it sounded like Chinaman out in the woods.
Samurai.
No, it didn't. It kind of a little like that, but not like not like the samurai sounds and you know, it was kind of, but not really. And I mean, this sounded like it wasn't real close up. It sounded like it was in the cedars, you know, just a few yards away from the house, and I was just like, what the heck? Who's out there jabbering? And it did. It sounded like a bunch of little Chinamen, you know, 2 or 3 Chinamen talking.
Well, Milo, you remember me talking about me and Scott and Bill and a couple of the other guys were up by Copper Creek. And, you know, Bill noticed there were some noises when he stepped away from the fire. And he says, hey, come over and listen to this. So all of us went over there eventually away from the fire. And above us, about 100 feet, there were 2 individuals up there. One sounded just like a chimp, making those chimp hoot noises, and it was real agitated. You could tell it was going back and forth. And the other one was stationary, but it was like just a chattering. It was, I wouldn't describe it as an Asian language, but it was kind of, I don't know.
Like a woman talking.
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just chattering.
Well, I don't really mean like an Asian language. I guess the way Chinese people and Oriental people, and somebody's going to get mad at me about saying this, but they talk fast, and it's just the way they intonate and all that sort of stuff is what I'm referring to. I'm not trying to make
you talk
anything.
Fast too.
Oh, do I? Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm from Texas. Anyway. But you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to dish on somebody's language skills here, but that's what it sounded like. You know, just jabbering away. But it did have a slight samurai sound to it, but it also had a primate sound to it. So it was just weird. And I sat there and listened to that for quite a while, and then I finally just closed my window. I was like, I don't want to hear this anymore.
Well, you know,
I'm going to bed. I don't want to listen anymore.
I remember taking my psych courses at WSU, and they were talking about language at one point, you know, because I think after 5 or 6, we're kind of hardwired into our language. I mean, and some people are more susceptible to learning other languages than others, but you're kind of locked into it at that point. And when you hear a different language, it doesn't sound like individual words to a lot of us because we're not used to that. We're not used to the spacing and how the words are pronounced and things like that. So it's kind of a matter of how our brains are sort of wired to language, how we interpret that. But what I heard was a chattering. It didn't sound like a language. It was more noise. And the other one was just chimp hooting, hoo, 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 that kind of, you know, and it was really ticked off. You could tell it was upset.
So what'd you do to make it mad?
Just being there, I think. You know, maybe we didn't offer it a beer. I don't know. We were sitting around talking, you know, old buddies from high school, and we were just kind of shooting the breeze there, and apparently they weren't happy. Maybe
remember all those advertisements I did?
Yeah, right.
For that buddy that.
So were you like in between LB and Ashford or something, or what?
We were heading towards Mount Rainier, past Ashford.
Okay.
Do you know where the Copper Creek Inn is? It's before.
Ate there.
Yeah, it's before you get to that.
Okay.
I think it was because you didn't have a can of pork and beans.
That was it. Doggone it, Chuck! You hit it on the head.
We always get back to the beans.
I love
those beans.
I don't think TW's heard that one yet.
Oh God!
You got to tell him. She got beans with real beans.
This is a Q&A. I can't tell him now.
Okay, you can do it after the recording. We got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, I'll tell him afterwards.
Okay, Milo, what else do we got?
Okay, well, the last one I got is from Gail and Debbie from the Bigfoot researchers when you did an interview with them.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
And they said one of their first encounters, or actually it was Gail's first one, was when she was living with her parents and she was out camping, and she heard, the like tongue popping and some serious screams and stuff, and then she ran home, and I was like, well, how far away from the home? And then she ran up the hill to get to the house. And I just thought it was interesting that for her, she said it was like a foreboding, weary camp from home, and she got grounded. But I just was trying to get more out of the story. But if there was anything else from her group, the Bigfoot researchers, do you still keep in touch with them?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm planning on having Gail, and Gail's in the Hudson Valley area of New York, and they've had some really good stuff. Gail's a great gal and a good researcher, so we're going to have her back on here soon. In fact, I need to contact her and find out when she can be with us. But yeah, they've had some very interesting things that go on there, and she's had quite a few experiences.
Okay, well I just thought she was interesting, and the Kathy one was interesting. Not that Forrest isn't, because we always got her. She's like here. She's one of us. So
she's one of us. That's right.
It's
I'm just one of the gang.
Hey, now since Milo's here, does anybody have questions for him about our Mount St. Helens trip? Now there's a question.
Oh God, no.
Oh.
Which one? With he who shall not be named,
yes,
or what?
Of course. It's silent.
I wonder if he listens.
I have no idea.
I wonder if he knew that.
Go ahead, Forrest.
What?
I was just going to say, I said all of a sudden, you guys got quiet.
Well, we've talked about it before on here, and I think you probably weren't on, Milo, but now that Milo's here, you can actually ask him.
I want to know. I just want to know, did his eyebrows burn off when that happened?
Yeah, mine? Yeah. Everything went up.
Yeah, his eyebrows, the front of his hair, his goatee, his self-respect.
Which one of you were the idiots that threw the stuff in the fire in the first place?
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, that was
he who should not be
the same guy
Okay.
who kept dropping his pack every time, who dropped it on the slope going up to Windy Pass, and the pack was...
and y'all had to go back down and pick up all the stuff, right?
Well, we didn't pick it all up. That was the pack that was full of baseball cards, plastic ship models, and long underwear. That was it. That's all he had.
Well, he came equipped, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Was he
was
planning on staying there?
Well, he kept blaming his younger brother for swapping packs with him or refilling it. I think he put the stuff in there is what I think. Don't you, Milo?
Yeah, I know he did it.
Maybe he was planning on swapping baseball cards with Bigfoot.
Well, I don't know what his plan was, but it wasn't a good
All
one.
I know is when I tried to describe everything to Will and Brian, it was like, oh my God, who is this crazy person that just talked to us?
We were. You remember, Milo? Remember what Windy Pass was back in those days? It was just it was like a passage through rock, and it was like 10, 15 feet high, right? So you had to it was like this narrow passage. It went through this solid rock, right? So Brian and I were the first ones that got there, and we decided to take a break while we're waiting for everybody else to come up that slope. And it was hard walking, remember, because you'd sink up to your knees in pumice. And it was like a mile up to that pass from the parking lot. So we were sitting there, and here comes Milo. He's the third one to come in there. And you were just mad as heck. And you were going, and Brian goes, Milo, English. So you said, oh, dumb, so and so.
Yeah, dumb nuts.
Drop my gear. And we're like, oh Lord, Paul dropped his pack. And I said, did you tell him to pick it up? And it looks like there was like an unseen person that smacked you across your face. You hold your finger up and you go, I'll be right back. And Brian looks over at me and he says, dumbass. So 5 minutes later, here comes Milo back, just as mad as he was the first time. And we're like, Brian again, he's like, Milo English, so we can understand what's going on. What happened now? He's all dumb, so-and-so just watched his pack roll down the hill and all the stuff come out of it. So we were I said, all right, look, I'm thinking, oh God, we got to come back anyway. We'll pick it up on the way back, so we needed to get to the spot where we were going to camp. And, we told the other three guys to stay there. And then the other three of us, me and Milo and Brian, went back because we had to hike all the way back to the van to get our food. And like dummies, we spent a couple $100 on nothing but canned food. We had to hike up that mountain. and the cabin tent. You remember that, Milo?
We were in high school.
Yeah, we were dummies. we had that canvas cabin tent, the one we had at the Clark Ranch, and all this canned food. And obviously, we didn't pack all that canned food up there. It was just too much. But so we get up to where the pack had fallen. And it was time for a break anyway, so we stopped for a break, and I walked over to look at it. I'm like, oh, God, come here, guys. Look at what's in his pack. And I said, we'll pick up a little bit of the... We took just a few of his pairs of long underwear. The rest of that...
like a plane crash.
It did.
Debris field was like all the way down the hill.
It was all over the place. And we said, no, the rest of this crap is staying here. We're not picking none of his baseball cards or plastic ship models up. They're forever. They're here.
Yeah.
And he's the same guy that was groped at the Clark Ranch.
Good. Yes.
Was he the one that was wrenched out of the tent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You remember the three of us were sitting there in front of the fire talking because he wanted to go in and go to sleep, and nobody else wanted to go to sleep. So we're like, all right, just go in there. We'll figure it out. And he was in there about 20 minutes, and we started hearing him rustling around. And, of course, being 18-year-olds, we're making all kinds of jokes about what he might be doing in there with himself. And so he comes charging out of the tent. He's mad as heck, right? And we're looking up at him like, what's going on there? He says, it's not very damn funny, you guys grabbing me when I'm in the tent trying to sleep. And we're like, well, that's a great idea, but none of us thought of it. Dang it. So we got out of him what happened or what he says happened. And, because we thought he was dreaming. It's like, yeah, right, you're dreaming, and you just imagine this. No, I never went to sleep. I'm laying there listening to you guys talk, and I'm thinking, well, why'd you go in the tent? If you were listening to talk, you could have sat out here and done it too. But that's aside from the point. So we ended up, we found the footprints that led back into the forest.
Yeah, there was a knee thing.
Yeah, there was that round,
kneeling
right behind where I was kneeling down. This big, it looked like if you impressed a basketball into the soil. That's what that looked like. It was like, what, 3 inches deep or so?
Oh, yeah.
So one of these things had come up there, and we measured the tracks. They were 18 inches long, and it had knelt down right behind where I was kneeling down, no more than a couple of feet, and it was reaching under the edge of the tent, going through our stuff in there.
Finding a snack.
Yeah, found one.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to know one thing. Did you guys ever take a workable flashlight with you?
No.
Oh, after
never.
that, yeah.
Did we have one after that?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably because it worked.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys.
I think we got from Scott. I think anything that worked came from Scott.
Yeah, because he had the only camera, I think, at the time. I had one, but I never seemed to have film when we wanted to go out. So, or maybe I did. I don't remember. It was either my camera or his. Well, anybody want to bring anything up before we wrap this session? No, that says it all. All right, folks. Thanks for joining the Q&A. Come and visit us next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at williamjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out there.